I was looking outside for woodpecker. I just seen it land on a tree. It's getting a drink a minute. It's nice to see. Watching an excellent YouTube video, Dream of the Earth by Thomas Berry.
Involves something more than pragmatic use, academic understanding, or aesthetic appreciation. A truly human intimacy with the earth and with the entire natural world is needed. Our children should be constantly introduced to the world in which they live, to the trees and grasses and flowers,
I think he's listening.
to the birds and the insects and various animals that roam over the land, to the entire range of natural phenomena.
Woodpecker came right around you out with you. You'd love to see it.
We find with the Omaha Indians. When a child is born, the Omaha declare its newborn presence to the entire universe. First, they address the sun, the moon, the stars, and every being that moves in the heavens, declaring, "Into your midst has come a new life. Consent ye, we implore. Make its path smooth, that it may reach the brow of the first hill. Then to the atmospheric world, to the winds, clouds, rain, mist, and all that moves in the air. Then to the hills, valleys, rivers, lakes, trees, and grasses. Finally, ye birds great and small, that fly through the air, ye animals great and small, that dwell in the forest, ye insects that creep among the grasses and burrow in the ground, I bid ye all to hear me. Consent ye all, we implore. Make its path smooth, then shall it travel beyond the four hills." This is an entrancing ritual for introducing a child to the world, into which the child has been born. In our own thinking, we are coming back to this once more, out of our new mode of understanding the universe. We now experience ourselves as the latest arrivals, after some 15 billion years of universe history, and after some 4.5 billion years of Earth history. Here we are, born yesterday. We need to present ourselves to the planet as the planet presents itself to us, in an evocatory rather than a dominating relationship. There is need for a great courtesy toward the earth. This courtesy we might learn from the Iroquois. Their Thanksgiving ritual is one of the most superb ceremonies that humans have ever known. Too long to present in its entirety, it does have a refrain that is relevant here. We return thanks, first to our mother, the earth, which sustains us, then unto the rivers and streams, to the herbs, to the corn and beans and squashes, to bushes and trees, to the wind, to the moon and stars, to the sun, and finally to the Great Spirit who directs all things. To experience the universe with such sensitivity and such gratitude, these are primary experiences of an awakening human consciousness. Such stupendous moments reveal a striking sense of the alluring earth, an intimacy wonderfully expressed in the famous Western inscription of Chiang Tsai, an 11th century administrative official in China. This inscription, placed on the west wall of his office so that he would constantly have it before him, reads quite simply, "Heaven is my father, and earth is my mother, and even such a small creature as I finds an intimate place in its midst. That which extends throughout the universe I regard as my body, and that which directs the universe I regard as my nature. All people are my brothers and sisters, and all things are my companions." Also, Wang Yangming, an early 16th century Chinese writer, tells us that a truly developed person is someone who realizes that we form one body with heaven, earth, and all living things. He mentions everything from ruler, minister, husband, wife, and friends, to mountains, rivers, heavenly and earthly spirits, birds, animals, and plants. All should be truly loved in order to realize my humanity, which forms a unity, and then my clear character will be completely manifested, and I will really form one body, with heaven, earth, and the myriad things. India, too, has an intimacy with the natural world, as expressed in the epic poem, the Ramayana, with its touching scenes of Rama and Sita in exile, wandering in the forest with its flowering plants, fruit-bearing bushes, elephants, monkeys, deer, and brightly plumed birds. Also in India, there are the familiar animal tales of the Hitopadesa, the teaching of wisdom through playful narratives of forest life. Everywhere intimacy, the mutual presence of the life community in all its numinous qualities. We, too, have something of this in our own transcendental and romanticist traditions that arose in Germany in the late 18th century and came to the English-speaking world through Coleridge in England and Emerson in America. Within this context, we developed our own American feeling for the natural world, expressed in the writings of Walt Whitman, Henry Thoreau, and John Muir. These are the archetypal personalities whose work is continued in writers Aldo Leopold, Lauren Isley, Mary Austin, Joseph Wood Crutch, Gary Snyder, Edward Abbey, Annie Dillard, Barry Lopez, and so many others, and through a multitude of artists and musicians. With the more recent nature writers, a new understanding of the universe begins to take shape. Our scientific understanding of the universe, when recounted as story, takes on the role formerly fulfilled by the mythic stories of creation. Our naturalists are no longer simply romanticists or transcendentalists in their interpretive vision. They have absorbed scientific data into their writings. A new intimacy with the universe has begun within the context of our scientific tradition. This is the most distinctive contribution presently being made toward renewal of our presence on the earth. Science is providing some of our most powerful poetic references and metaphoric expressions. Scientists suddenly have become aware of the magic quality of the earth and of the universe entire. The physicist Brian Swimme tells us, the universe shivers with wonder in the depths of the human. From the teeniest fragment of matter to the grand sweep of the galactic systems, we have a new clarity through our empirical modes of knowing. We are more intimate with every particle of the universe and with the vast design of the whole. We see it and hear it and commune with it as never before, not only in its spatial extension, but in its emergent process. We are intimate with the world about us. We experience an identity with the entire cosmic order within our own beings. This sense of an emergent universe, identical with ourselves, gives new meaning to the Chinese sense of forming one body with all things. This identity is expressed by physicists in terms of the anthropic principle. In this perception, the human is seen as a mode of being of the universe, as well as a distinctive being in the universe. Stated somewhat differently, the human is that being in whom the universe comes to itself in a special mode of conscious reflection. That some form of intelligent reflection on itself was implicit in the universe from the beginning is now granted by many scientists. The difficulty presently is with the mechanistic fixations in the human psyche, in our emotions and sensitivities, as well as in our minds. Our scientific inquiries into the natural world have produced a certain atrophy in our human responses. Even when we recognize our intimacy, our family relations with all the forms of existence about us, we cannot speak to those forms. We have forgotten the language needed for such communication. We find ourselves in an autistic situation. Emotionally, we cannot get out of our confinement, nor can we let the outer world flow into our own beings. We cannot hear the voices or speak in response. Yet the beginning of an intimacy can be observed. The very intensity of our inquiry into the structure and functioning of the natural world reveals an entrancement with this natural world. This attraction to the primordial splendor of the universe, however betrayed by our industrial exploitation, remains an overwhelming experience. We are constantly drawn toward a reverence for the mystery and the magic of the earth and the larger universe with a power that is leading us away from our anthropocentrism to this larger context as our norm of reality and value. Perhaps nothing is more difficult for those of us who live within the Western, biblical, classical tradition. Throughout the entire course of this tradition, the autism has deepened with our mechanism, with our political nationalism, and with our economic industrialism. Presently, a new interpretation of the Western historical process seems to be indicated. Neither the liberal progressive nor the conservative traditionalist seems to fit the situation.
Interesting.